Hey, welcome back. I'm just going to try and sync up with Twitter as well, and I'll stay on there for as long as I can. Hey, Twitter, we're on YouTube having our monthly therapy support group, so come and join us if you fancy it, and if not, I will share it later and you can catch up at another time in your leisure. So bye for now, and hopefully you'll come and join us. Bye. And now I've got to stop. Okay, so that's done. Hello, welcome everyone, and maybe more will join. So as always, I'm going to go quickly through our contract statement of intent that keeps us all safe, especially you, but me too, because I'm equal. Let's not objectify myself this early in the evening. So I'm a person-centered counsellor, and that means I'm creating an environment for you to find your greatest self and get better at living with all of who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly. And within me being the environment, that is because I've done a lot of work on self. In fact, I've written a book. I can't believe I'm getting this early into plug time. The book, How I Became a Person. I don't think you can see that, but anyway, it goes through basically the environment making, the relationship with self, the creating with others, and building up the environment so that you can become your greatest self, because your most vulnerable parts are looked after, your triggers are being considered, your needs and desires and wishes are communicated, your fundamentals are owned and invested in. So I'm your environment for you to find you. I found myself, and I'm here to be sort of stable in that, even though I have instability within that, because I have lots of things to look after, but like all with well-being at this point. And we've got 2 puppies today because we're looking after Bobby, the one that we trained for my father-in-law for his retirement. He's his great friend, but they've gone away for a week, so I'm going to do some training with him, as well as Scusi, look after him. Yeah, I did a burp. So I'm going to help you find yourself, basically, and use myself as fodder in general, but sometimes I will anonymize another experience, or with a client experience. So if I've got something that's really interesting and can enable you to see something in a bigger picture, but in general it'll be me I use, because I know myself well and my entire configuration, my conditions of worth, and the way they interweave, and it's easier just to use me, basically. Not use me, feature me. I don't use myself. There. The session is owned by you. You've got to keep yourself safe. If you need a break and you need to watch the rest of it later, or just take it a bit of time, or come in half an hour in because you're really sick of hearing this bit, whatever it is you need, you crack on, because at the beginning we're trying to reinstigate your instinct. So that's not, oh, we need to learn how to live like Faye, God forbid. It's that, oh, Faye's learned how to live like she needs to, with all the people in her house living like they need to in one environment, and because she knows that, right, I can look at what my needs are in my environment and what that looks like, because everyone's self and marriage and life and work and histories and how they perceive and feel their history is all different. Even 2 children that have had the same history, it's not the same. There'll be 2 totally different endpoints, because 2 children feel differently on things. So keep yourself safe. You're the educated party on being you, so we're trusting you to trust your instinct. I try and give a full spectrum. It could be this end, and I try and make it quite like graphically this end, or this end, graphically this end, and where are you in it? And then you can see I'm not like it should be up here. It's like, here's like the biggest spectrum, where are you on it, so that you can identify self, not be moved in any way by me and my like thinking I'm knowledgeable or something. Like, you're knowledgeable, and I'm making the environment for you to find that knowledge and treasure it. Empathy. Oh, we love some empathy, and we really want to try and find it first for self. Feel within self that you deserve to understand yourself and look after yourself and have self-care and have dialogue that's kind and have this environment and have someone understand you, so that you're saying, oh, it's not really that, it's more this, but good try, that's made me think. So you're staying within your version of self, and you're growing that idea. And I'm just like offering up fodder to see whether we can, get to know it even better, or stretch the environment further, or notice, oh wait there, this bit's not looked after, or wait there, we've only got 3 legs instead of 4. One end's going to topple any minute, or whatever it is anyway. So expectations of client. I like to go on to this because we're not fixing and we're not changing. Fixing and changing can't happen. We are accommodating and coming to terms with being self and living with self and what self is, and the life of that person having to live in self. So we're trying to create an environment where we're expanding our knowledge of self, not narrowing it down. So we're including everything that might have been perceived as no and not and to right. That's interesting. Let's find out and let's make it safe, and let's see whether there's some shining in it, and any struggle, and let's see what that struggle needs, and all of that sort of stuff. So lower your expectations in terms of magic wand, but raise them in terms of difference is powerful, empathy is powerful, and it's not that anything changes, it's that everything is different, and that affects all. And like when people come into my heart space, it's harder on the internet, and especially on the internet where it's like narrowed amount of what's the things, the number of things you can use, like type. It's hard to get your intent across and your influence across. But when people are in my actual heart space, they can feel me, and they know who I am, and they can feel my genuineness, and your heart space is 3 meters. It's bigger than your head waves. That's only a meter, where your heart wave is 3 meters. So we're bringing you into the heart space, but we're not expecting the self to magically be something or perfect or anything. It's going to be a working with rather than against. We don't want to start another war. We want to end all wars and be kind to self and others. Complaints and queries. I'm a registered member of the BACP. I've got insurance, all these different things. You can get all those details on the MAP statement of intent that I usually link below, but occasionally I forget, so let me know if I have. But I will link it to them tonight if I remember. But go on to my Twitter, and it's on the pinned tweet some way down. And that governing body are there for you, and you're allowed to go and have queries, to get feedback, have questions, find out things, make complaints, ask about stuff, and I would applaud you for doing that. So don't ever feel fearful of that. If I need learning, I take it on the chin, and I'm proud to take it, because we're all human and we all need to grow, and we're all just trying our best. But if you can come to me first and bring that to me, and we can work it through, and usually it is something I've triggered rather than something I'm being or doing, and it's become a bit of transference or projection, and it can be really overwhelming, and I would never take that personally. I would always be like, well done, not well done because that's condescending, but like, it's great to be angry with me, because then we've got, right, what have I triggered? Where have I triggered it? Where is the historic of that? How can we make that safe? I didn't mean to do that. I'm really sorry. Let's soothe the person that's had to be triggered all day. And now let's work with the trigger, because you're in a safe relationship here with someone who's not going to take it personally. They're going to go, ooh, interesting. Once they've soothed the fact that they've triggered you, I've triggered you, whatever. Then it will be interesting, and it will be vital, and it will be golden thread that we might find the whole answer to, and it'll be an expedition. So always bring it. I'm not worried. Or, you know, you're allowed to be whatever, but I'm not. So confidentiality. Everything you say is confidential. We have this triple harm clause about harm to self, harm to another, and harm to children, and also the terrorism clause, which means you have to go straight to the police if you're on earth that you're starting terroristic ideals or plans. Always, I would speak with you about that. You're never going to get a knock on the door because I've decided I think something clever. And there will always be an interaction, and some trying to create signposting or safety or checking that, you know, haven't got it wrong, and collaboratively working on what feels right with, if it is a thing, this thing, and how we take care of it best. So again, don't worry about that. I don't take notes. I don't want notes. The only time I take a little bit of note is when someone sends their story, and they want to either just have some feedback or whatever, some back and forth, or to be featured so that we unpack them. I think I did that last session. I think I did another session before. And then I will make anonymized notes so that they can be featured without me accidentally reading something that could dox them. So the confidentiality, I work very hard to keep it confidential, but obviously you have to own your own autonomy in safeguarding self and your self-governance in that. I have supervision once a month. I unpack everything. I did unpack you this month, actually, because I've been feeling a little bit weary, and had a whole sort of thing on Twitter again, which is very draining. We might go through that because it's all about language, and I feel it's really important. And also, MAPS feel it's really important. So we want to build on that importance of language and that respect with each other, through survivors and minor attracted, that we actually build a respect between and a care, so that the empathy and an environment of belonging can happen. Because of course a lot of survivors do have paedophilic obsessive compulsive disorder, which isn't attraction to children. They also have autopedophilia, which isn't attraction to children. They have all sorts of dysphorias with sexuality in their body, and mental health issues, and all sorts of comorbid disorders from trauma. So, as well as some developing minor attraction. Of course, it's also a born genetic condition of sexuality, but some people it's had a neurological pathway from somatic and infant arousal neurology, that you can't help but not bypass this arousal. Some people just are unlucky, double unlucky. You're abused and you're left with something really hard to deal with that's then projected upon with all this hate. But we want that we sort of build some kind of community that looks after this condition on a whole, because survivors are kind of demonized. You're going to become an abuser, or you're more likely to become an abuser, which is just a really offensive, infactual, non-thing that just gets told to survivors, and it's really horrible. So they're sort of demonized and also dirtified, and we don't really want to hear it. We don't want to look at it, and oh, can you just take all that somewhere else? And the MAPS are treated like that, or both in innocence. No one's done anything here. In fact, we're the one that's being done upon. Like, we're the ones that have been mistreated and traumatized, and all in very early life. A lot of MAPS realize their MAPness in puberty. This is between 13 and 15, and they realize, oh fuck, I've got the worst condition on the planet, and I better not tell a word to anyone, and then on this secret internal demise of self, because what do I do with this thing, and how do I come to terms with it, because what's available for me to help that? So these stuck people, and I want to join them together. I want to like get on the one of my clients gave these to me, and I'm just so super pleased with them because they're rainbows, and he's got into a little habit of bringing me rainbow stuff, rainbow unicorn stuff, which I adore. So we want a bit of a rose-tinted view that if we make a safe environment that has a base level of respect and kindness, because we're all struggling and we're all hurting and we're all struggling with something that everyone finds really difficult, and just go over there with it, and we could be really good comrades. So let's all, get our things on. I can't read the demo, so I'm going to keep them off for now. Blah, blah, blah. I'm always going to turn up. Cancellation policy. Apart from when I mistakenly not see Wednesday the 1st as the first Wednesday, and accidentally go 4 weeks instead of 3, but I won't make that mistake again. I'll double check from now that my dyslexia hasn't misread something. But I will always turn up. I've even turned up tonight, and I am struggling tonight because and this is probably way too much information, but I've got something going on in my womb that's causing me a lot of blood loss and like real tiredness. I can't believe how tired I am. So I'm gonna see how I go, but I might be bailing out on you a bit early tonight because I've been getting a bit used to a bit of a nana nap in the afternoon after I finish work. Because not that I start off making myself do that, but I'll be reading or studying or working on the computer, and then my husband would come in and I'll go, oh shit, I fell asleep again. So I didn't have that today though, so the tiredness might kick in. I wanted to also tell you something as well that's sort of like the rose tinted glass. In fact, I might put them back on to say this bit, because every now and then I get really, my passion sort of dwindles. Well, no, it's not my passion, my energy dwindles. And it's because of external factors dragging me down. And I've had one recently, there was a Twitter, and it's very hard to continue with the same passion when the people that you're isolating yourself for, because you love them, and it's not about getting some, yay you, well done, you're so great, Faye. It's just, don't attack me for my efforts, and don't sabotage my efforts, and don't, be arse hats with the whole thing. Like, people are working really hard to make a difference and create a belonging and some forward thinking on how we treat CSA, CSEM, and minor attraction. And people that actively, purposely have a feeling today because they're allowed a feeling today, and they just like, meh. Oh God, just think, gosh, would you just have a thought before you have a feeling? Because like, you're just colouring everyone with your feeling, and especially when it's with insensitive language, it really hurts the entire movement. But and this is the second time it's happened, because just in time, when the last time it happened in a really big way, I was in on our summer holiday, and I've just sort of started it, and we were in Spain, and we hadn't had a summer holiday for a really long time. And when I do my summer holidays, I do a lot of my course study reading, because I'm not really a very good reader, and we're doing a lot of like hanging around and just relaxing. So I like to do a bit of that reading and watch a lot of things that I've been saving to watch. Anyway, I had a big crisis in, why am I bothering? What am I doing this for? If no one wants it, why am I like putting myself on the line? I'm not even struggling with this. Like, I'm just trying to love you guys, and you're like chucking shit at me. Why do I keep carrying on? But on the day that I was like, no, I think I'm going to give it up. I think I'm just going to wrap it in. I went to the toilet in Spain, in like Spain, like, whoa, it's so hot, Spain. And I came across this, and you can't really see it properly, but it's a little handkerchief, a child's handkerchief, depicting basically Project Snowball, which is little snowflakes and children building a snowman and working together, and this landscape change. And I thought, oh my God, it's telling me to not give up, because this is about the safety of children, including minor attracted teenagers. And so I thought, right. And then for ages, right, I lost it. It totally went. I thought, God, I've lost my thing. And then shit started happening, and I started thinking, oh, well, maybe that's a sign, because I lost my thing. And then getting closer to doing the map group, and then I wear these trousers, which I haven't worn in fucking ages, and it's in the pocket. And it's like, don't give up. The kids, these kids that have no one to turn to with this mind-blowing information that they've got the worst condition on the planet. They're the monsters of the whole world. And they need someone who loves them. So I'm not giving up. I'm just tired. And it's mainly because of blood loss, but it's also because you're trying to dull my shine, and I'm just trying to hold in there. I've just noticed people are talking. Let me just check, because I've got to go near. B Beth, hey B, I'm so grateful for what you're doing here. Oh my God, I never dreamed someone would come out and put so much effort into something like this. Oh God, you're making me cry. Thank you so much, and please don't be discouraged, because those maps are not the ones you're doing it for. Exactly. Yes, exactly. And like, if someone can be narcissistic with a movement like this when they've got nothing, we've got nothing in this, in our community, and people coming to love our community. People are like, fuck you all over the place. And we've got a few people that believe in us and they're working for us. And there are doctors and there are researchers and there are people like just coming in trying to be part of it and change the way that we deal with this. So yay. So we found the Project Snowball, and I think I might like make something out of it so it doesn't go missing again, and it stays up on the wall, and I walk past it every day thinking, yeah, remind yourself who you're doing it for, and remind everyone else who they're affecting. They can go off and be arse-hats if they want to, but don't claim no map, don't claim movement, don't claim campaign, don't talk as a spokesperson, don't be out and proud, be individual and narrow with your little spokes minute thing, and then don't bring everything else, because language is important. If you start talking about kiddie and baby banging and fucking and diddling and just all of those words that are just so graphically irresponsible and hurtful and just too much publicly, you're going to take everything that we're doing and everything that we've got so far and all the ones that we're getting taken away, because America are taking away rights for dolls and manga and hentai like it's going out of fashion. And I think it's because these loud people are misusing it. They're being very offensively graphic, which wears down the trust. It says, oh, well, look what you're doing with it already. And it stops people from having a chance to do the research, because I think it could be really helpful to have, really graphic, wonderfully graphic novels and hentai and dolls and maybe AI dolls. Like, let's do the research and let's change the shift away from the monster to let's live with well-being with this condition. Otherwise, we're responsible for that monster that we cage and then hate and then stab and then kick and then pour acid on and then chuck shit at, because, we're society. And these are just children growing older with something that remains static because it's never been heard or cared for. And I think a lot of people misdiagnose themselves as minor attracted because they haven't worked through autopedophilia or POCD. And I think those two things could cause a lot of internal conflict that could lead to edgy behavior because they are searching for some kind of answer. And that's because they're in an echo chamber. And I'm writing again. It's very disturbing to me that one of the most visible maps we have in the media is Todd. Yes, if he's going to go to the effort of getting all this attention off him, he needs to be responsible with it. Oh yes, I've seen that a lot of people confused about POCD. Yes, and I think that's really important to say, because Todd does a lot of amazing work, and he's just a human being, and he's in fact had a recently very serious effect on life, and it's really hard being in your own face a public persona of madness and it's a big burden to bear. But it means that you have to be more responsible with your mood and know thyself. And if I'm going to go onto the internet feeling like this, I'm going to be like that, and then that's going to be what's left of all of my work, because that's all they'll capture. This screenshot of him being like this and talking about baby banging or kiddie banging or whatever it was. I can't remember, I'm not quoting. And I'm not getting at him, it's just, I want everyone, a lot of people do this. This is just the most recent thing. But also, when you're a leader of something, not a leader, when you're a bigger, someone that people look up to, someone that people turn to, someone that people rely on and respect, and then you make a precedent, quite a serious precedent with language, and that we're not going to give a fuck, when actually we do give a fuck. If we get a "you're never going to belong, we decided, and look what you did with that, and now we're going to chop you off at the ankles because you misused your mango, you're this, you're that, and now you're just being offensive with it and obnoxious," and that like reduces our ability to say we're human beings, because we objectify ourselves and others into our own perspective, and that's really unfair, because the perspective of minor attraction is a very small one in terms of the majority. So in order to belong and get support and appreciation and then some celebration, because all these people with minor attraction are fabulous people if we could make them safe enough, but also a lot of them are safe and are fabulous people and have minor attraction. But I've lost my train of thought. Oh, someone's talked. So not a lot of people. Oh, they didn't. That's the POCD. Yeah. So POCD is very much misunderstood, because the paedophile obsession and the compulsion is, am I a paedophile? Is this it starting? What is this weird thought I'm having? Oh, I've got this intrusive, compulsive thinking, which isn't an arousal. It's a conflict, and it's a tearing apart of this idea of self and where is self, and then it becomes a really hard search for self, and you start, well, am I in there? And you'll look at studies and research, and you'll watch films and try and self-identify, because, oh, is this me? And it becomes this real intense. And if you're isolated and you're young and you've got all this internet access and you're scared, you could end up looking at CSCM because you just want to self-identify and understand, and then you're on the register for life, because we don't care for people that are in an echo chamber trying to find answers, or we chop them off at the head and the ankles and then watch them crawl around. So we need to change that idea, and in order to do that, we need to address our language. We can't come bowling in with all our private in terms, because I'm not saying don't have them. You're minor attracted, and in the books they need to be graphically. You can have all the kiddie fucking in the world, in all the shapes and sizes and positions and scenarios, but not public, because no one wants to put their intimate privacy. Well, actually, that's a lie, because I've been going on my Twitter and all of a sudden someone's like mouth, having sex with someone's mouth, like just there, right in my feed. God, where did that come from? So yes, they are actually, but it's because they haven't got that intimacy and that connection. And also maybe they're extroverts and they have that kink, and that's all not shame. We're not shaming anyone. It's all wonderful with consenting adults that are safe and contractual in it, because you have to be really contractual. Me and my husband don't have boring sex. We have very, very wonderful sex life. It's absolutely living, and it gets better with every year that goes past, and we've been together 25 years. It's amazing. But it's contracted. It's consenting. We talk about it. We debrief it. We go through our fantasies. We do all these things, and some people aren't in that kind of relationship as adults, and children can't do it full stop. So we just see what they say. Oh my God, exactly. I don't know what your own book's on exactly because I didn't read it in time, but yay, I'm glad you're in it. So I just feel like I want to try and restart this movement because people are going onto podcasts and talking and representing, and then they're misrepresenting in public, and it's a real shame because we can take one step forward and then we take 10 steps back because people are getting emotional, and like I do it too. We're all human, but not owning it and coming through with a explanation or a human. I'm getting something in my eye. Have you done an interview with the Prevention Podcast? You should. They did invite me, and we haven't got round to it, but maybe they will again. I don't know, but I hope so. I hope so one day. I've written an article because my governing body, the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy, has a magazine called Therapy Today. In fact, I featured it on Twitter. Hey, can you send that to me? Because I'd really like to listen to it. That would be amazing. Like on a DM Twitter thing, because we're followers now. Writing an article because first of all they did a thing about thank you. They did which I featured on Twitter, showing people it's like the monthly dilemma, and people write in with what they would do with that dilemma. And I posted it a month ago with the dilemma that was a elderly man who had never committed physical offence of child abuse was dying, and he didn't want his daughter to find his online offence of CSEN collection. And he spoke to his counsellor, and would she dispose of it for him? And the dilemma was spoken about as child porn. And I thought, oh, well, I wonder whether they said child porn from his perspective and he's saying child porn because that's what he would say. And the following month, they posted the answers, the responses, and stated as their terminology, Psychotherapy and Counselling Journal, child porn. And so I wrote in and complained and said, as in 2019, to be misrepresenting the victims of child sex exploitation material with such an offensive term as child porn, which can't even be fact, because porn is something that's contracted between adults, and they get paid and they've got insurance and they get the rights to their distribution, and they get ownership of their image and all these sorts of things. Children are just abused and then it's immortalized, and we're going to call it child porn. And they got right back to me very greatly saying, thank you very much for letting us know about this terminology, and we will update immediately. We really love it when we're told that we're out of date on something. Thank you. So they were really great about that, but it made me think, oh, now they've made that, oh yes, we are out of date on this. I wanted to write an article, and I've called it the monster condition, stating, and I've added born with it, the genetic condition of sexuality that it includes attraction to children. But I've mainly based it on because the empathy needs to start somewhere, and it's easiest to start with a trauma victim rather than them getting their heads around a born victim that they might not even agree with yet, because they might just think, it's a sexual condition, what rubbish, and they might be so out of date that they can't even get their head around that. But they can get their head around trauma and trauma victims. So it adds all of the other stuff, but it slips it in to the trauma condition and all of the misrepresentation even in that. And I see a lot of doctors and psychologists and counsellors and psychotherapists on Twitter making statements, public statements of hatred and who they won't treat, and it's paedophiles. And to me, that offends all victims, because you're qualified and you're not going to treat paedophiles? Who who's going to fucking treat them? Because like victims on top, and that's because most people don't realise that 70% of paedophilia or molestation, sorry, occurs by people that aren't minor attracted. It's just incidental, and it could have as easily been robbery or battery or drink or alcohol or addiction or whatever. But it just so happens to be child molestation, and oh my God, why did I do that? Instead, any other, big emotive bad behaviour, it's out of character for the person, and it's because they're under such stress that they're not behaving like themselves. So it includes acting upon a child. But if God, I've lost the train of thought. I'm tired. Sorry, guys. What was I talking about? The article. Through being trauma and survivor, victim. Anyway, it's basically trying to get them to get their heads around not being offensive to victims, because they could have POCD and or paedophilia and not dare to talk about them because they think it's a minor attraction, and then they think they bring in trauma victims and they meet them and they help them, when actually they're blocking one of their worst fears that can now be very easily acted upon. You can get drunk and lonely and isolated and on the computer, and then shit. And we're just into the darkness, go away, whilst also patting ourselves on the back for being so great with survivors, and we're not, because we're not letting their most fearful parts come in. And trauma has fearful parts. So I'm writing it. I've written it, in fact. So and I put all sorts of things. I'm hoping it will get taken up, and if it does, I will share it on Twitter with everyone, and hopefully we'll get this movement going, because we need some empathy from the professionals if we're ever going to get some empathy from the public. And it's absolutely, God, it's malpractice, really, because if you've got nothing good to say, shut up, because you're a professional, especially from your professional account, Dr. So-and-so or psychologist rah-rah. Don't spread hate because you think you're entitled to hate a group of people that are lost in the wilderness of hate and just innocent in it until something happens, and you're so going to happen that we don't even have to bother with you. In fact, we're going to be openly able to be entitled to not bother with you because you're so intent on becoming molesters. And then again, that's a really offensive projection, because the meta studies are showing that 70% of minor attracted people never offend, in person or online. They either invest in their other attraction, because a lot of people are dual attracted and they can be attracted to adults, or attracted to adults that have a young feel, or stay on the legal end of things and all sorts of things, or the ones that are exclusively minor attracted will live with celibacy, and they will invest in all the other areas of their life, and then they'll start getting so safe with it that they'll think, I want to help someone else live better with this, because it's not a death sentence, it's not a ticking time bomb, it doesn't mean anything, and I want to help. And they get to that stage, and all these people that have been incredibly brave and doing a lot of effort and work and time and energy are getting down trodden by an individual's mood. And when the individual's mood is offensive or graphic, or we're allowed to talk like this, you're not allowed to talk like this. That's why there's a watershed, and that's why there's the 18 plus, 12 plus, I can't remember what you call it, but the thing where they say ages that are allowed. I know everyone ignores them, but they are there, and there are limits to language as well. We're not allowed to say the N-word. That our vaginas are not allowed to be called cunts anymore, and that is the anatomically correct term for our vagina, but now we've got to call it vagina or whatever other pretty name, because we can't call it a cunt, because now that's become the worst word in in human language, in every single bloody language. It's the worst word. So that's a real steal from our ability to be women. But we have sanctions on language, and we have to respect. And when children are around, we all adjust our language if we are considerate human beings, decent human beings. We do that. And so on public forum, especially in group mentality and community, especially when we know how detrimental these words are, we know what we're doing, and then go ahead and do it anyway. It's so selfish, and it really it just unacknowledges all the effort and energy that all these people are putting in. Like, I'm not just talking for myself. People can reach burnout because the loudest people will evidence that they just don't want help, and they want to be ostracized, and they want to. And that's the other thing. There's two things from that. One, that this group mentality of closing in, protecting each other is, God, that is such the opposite thing that you should be doing, because in a minor attraction community, or we need to be doubly, bad behavior is not tolerated, and we want to elevate this community so we get some care and empathy and living rights, not fire the hatred by being a dick today. And the other thing is that it's also, which I get very worried about, especially with pro-contactors, and people who are struggling with life, that they get themselves into the heart of a fire topic and they start chucking firebombs. And then it gives them the right to have had a hard day, a bad day, a whole load of hate, and woe is me, and where's my soothing, and I've earned that, and I deserve it. And if a number of things stack up to create a vulnerable person with a wobbly boundary, things can happen. And that's anyone, because 70% of people who offend against children aren't attracted to children. So this is any person who gets enough things stacked up, and they're holding enough in, and then they're putting themselves in a position where they get hated upon, and then they feel justified in their behavior. A lot of people do it with drink. They will drink until they're justified in their behavior, because then they can say, oh, it's because I was drinking. But really it's what's the word where you get your I want to say pride, but it's not pride. Yeah, fuck it. You get your will to do it. You get I can't think of the word, but anyway, you get drunk, and then you're more likely to do this thing that you've been harboring. I can't think of it. So it's a similar thing. So you go onto the internet, you get a whole load of hate, and then you go home at night. And anyone with, and I've worked with someone with a, so I'm trying to get out the light so you can actually see it, with a not current active offending with CSEM, but a stash of historic collecting of CSEM that he really wanted to get rid of. It was really conflicting with his core things, but he'd done it, and it's the last time he's ever going to do that, and how can you get rid of it, and all this conflict himself. And someone in that wobble can go on the internet, get a little bit of bravery, that's the word, get a bit of bravery from having been downtrodden, and no, I will stand up and get a little bit of rights because, oh, bad day. And then, dodgy things happen. And I get worried about people who purposefully solicit hate. They are reaching out for it. And then they're including others. And it becomes this bigger thing. And then it becomes something, because it's not an individual. It's a group of people protecting a behaviour and a language, misuse, and don't give a shit. And that becomes who are you? Already we're trying to come over, get our heads around this really huge thing, And now you're going to be arseholes about it too. Like, what do you expect from us? And they're working around fear, so we can't expect a lot from them because they're in their animal state, they're in their amygdala state, which is just fearful animal. And hi, Jack. Is it Jax? Because it's Jax. I don't know how to pronounce it. And you can't tell me either, so I don't know why I'm asking you. I could say, is it Jax? And then you can say yes or no. Or you could like put it phonetically and then I can learn how to say your name. But welcome, hey. Jax read my, yes, Jax, I'm getting it right, good. You read the monster condition article. So hopefully we'll get some movement with that. We're just talking about language and creating an environment of safety and trust and how we build that and create empathy from society and neighborhood and family and relationship. And it's so much nicer to be in a relationship where you can be your whole self and like it's not the same. But I have a similar thing. Like, I am pansexual and I'm in a monogamous relationship with a man, a beautiful, wonderful man. But he's a man, just one man. And I could almost live in a van with a bunch of people, and especially women. So I live with a absolute longing to this. And we like explore all sorts of things together because it's a monogamous thing. And it's safe for me like that, and it's safe for him like that, and that's how we want it. But that doesn't kill off this other thing in me. And it's really lovely to be able to represent it, talk about it, communicate about it, be allowed to be struggling sometimes, to be allowed to sometimes find someone attractive, to be able to talk about the other life I might have lived if I hadn't met the love of my life, who happened to be a man and we're monogamous. So it's really nice to be in a relationship where you're your full self, and not all of it gets experienced, but all of it gets expressed. I'm just going to go and deal with this bloody I can't remember what it's called. I'm so tired, I can't even fit blind. Deal with the blind and the light that it can't. Oh, that's better. Thank you. I've got this little doll that I'm just absolutely obsessed with. It's a Lala Loopsy baby, and it's got a little Care Bear heart on the bum, and it just holds in your hand really nicely. And it's really like smooth. Me and my husband love like smoothing things. It's really soothing. And I don't know, I'm really attached to it right now. So it's hi guys, hi Lalas. So anyway, what were we talking about? I can't even remember. Language, being community, elevating. And I think there is a way towards that. Number one is get the professionals involved. And we've got a few professionals. We've got a few researchers and a few doctors and psychotherapists and counsellors who they're catching the flag, and they're like, yeah, what the fuck is this? Like, why are we like treating these like lepers when they've got the hardest condition on the planet? And yeah, let's go with this. And if I can get my governing body involved, which would be just so amazing, and maybe we need to, I don't know, start a petition or something, I don't know. And then we get survivors, and survivors get involved through, oh God, yeah, when I was potty training, I absolutely fretted over the fact that I'm a paedophile now, and what is going on, and why can I see them, and why can I smell them, and every time I wipe their bottom I just feel like gross, and all of these different things, and the POCD thing. And we can allow them to go, oh, that is hard, because I know how hard that is, and I sort of come to terms with it, or maybe not. Maybe I'm still coming to terms with it, and I'm not allowed to even talk about it as a survivor. And if we can get the empathy there, and then go, no, and then fuck, and you can't even tell your mom, your sister, your brother, your friend, your counsellor, you can't find no one. Like, and then we start getting a rolling, or like a number of snowflakes to create like, look at this area that we've covered in these snowflakes of snow, that look at all this difference, look how lovely it feels and is, and can we just repeat this in every area? Can we just like take this model and roll it out across the globe? Because, you know, all teenagers deserve care and attention for condition. All survivors and trauma victims, oh, excuse me, sorry everyone, deserve a full meeting of their cells without the disgust of we don't want that bit coming in, and actually given these things as, now as a survivor you may la 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 la, and these are usual, and don't worry about them. Let me give you some information. I'm not telling you have had them, but let me just explain a few of them and what they are and what they're not, and you know, you think it over between this and the next session and see if you can self-identify with anything. And that gives the opportunity for it to be witnessed in its original state, which is innocence. And somatics and neuroscience are real tricky, like they're real clever. Oh, people are talking. Yes. Hey! It's another, I love you. Hi, Mardley Murray. Mardley Murr. I don't know how to say your name as well. I'll just call you, I like to call you Murray. Hi, oh, B knows you too. Everyone, it's so lovely you're here. Thank you. So welcome, Mardley Murray. Mer's Perth, right, Mer. Hey Mer, just a little debrief from what we've already been doing. We've been, oh, just Mer, not Mers. Yes, thank you. We've been doing how we create an environment where we get to belonging. And we don't want to come out all shouty and obnoxious and offending, because it puts people off, and we're trying to we're expecting them to get their head around a really hard thing, because when you're not, you just can't. And so we've got to present it in a way that they can get their head around, and we've got to do it in bite-sized chunks, and we've got to do it in really appetizing ways, because if it comes out in, you know, some gloopy mess, they're just going to be like, oh, I'm not even going to go near that. So we've got to be really thoughtful with how we represent and how we present ourselves. And I want to challenge, like lovingly challenge our community to think before they feel, because all of their feelings are totally valid and valuable. I totally empathize that, well, unless you're soliciting hate, that's a different thing. But we're receiving hate just for being, and I know that environment, because the hatred I had for myself and that I felt from society as being an abused victim, and the fear of becoming an abuser, which is the most hated thing, isn't the same. Like if I was actually sexually attracted to children, oh God, the fear inside, and I can't imagine. But the looking for it, because I was so worried I was like pretty similar. And I felt evil. I felt like I wasn't allowed children. I shouldn't be on this planet. If I told my husband, he wouldn't ever look at me again. He didn't. He went, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, and don't ever you know, judge yourself. And he was so lovely. But anyway, off topic. It's because I'm tired, everyone. I'm sorry. Environment. So if we try and make it that we are a community that gets it, we get it, it's a hard topic, in the same way that we sort of do with sexual abuse. We sort of present it with, I know it's an icky topic, it's sticky, it's hard, you don't really want to listen to it, hear about it, oh, you don't want to watch the programs, I'm sorry. And we're all very apologetic for it. And we're trying to raise away from that, because it's not fair to be an innocent apologetic. But we've all had to start somewhere. And every movement has started with that humble humility that says, would you just let us be human? And it requires everyone to behave humanly. And it isn't to say, that you can't have it's a way of phrasing, because you can say hentai is a depiction of childlike characters in sexual experiences with adults or other children, childlike characters, and it's really great for MAP people, and we want to create laws around it so that they have that tool for living with well-being. That's a great way of putting it. Kiddie banging is just so offensive, and it's because it's so painful. You've got to understand that 99% of the population are going to feel that like a dagger to the heart. What? And I get it because I feel for you, but you can't help it. But there's time and place, and even with people in general, with general sexualities, they don't get their kinks out left, right, and centre. They only share that with a select group of people, or a very close friend, or their partner that they're contracting with. And it's the same. I've got ballet shoes. No good toes, naughty toes. They're so comfy. I'm using them as slippers instead of slippers. But anyway, God, I'm so distracted. Oh, I empathise with you because you want, and actually there's DM groups, chat groups, there's forums, there's lots of spaces to have graphic discussion, not graphic content like in terms of CSEM, but some people can share their hentai and their shotacon and their locon, and it's a safe space to do it. And if they're going to share it on Twitter, they do it respectfully, and some don't. And a lot of them proceed with their own entitled views on things and their projective ideals on what children are here for. And then others are in this other knowing that that's not what children are here for. And it's so what you're saying is that the community needs to be more sensitive about others' feelings. Exactly. And also their own community's feelings. Like, stop for a second and think for a second what damage that does to a struggling teen, to a struggling adult MAP with urge, to someone who's on the edge of something that is really trying to find a reason to do it, and this hate build up just gives them that little nudge. And think about triggering your own community, that wait there, I don't have the right to just put this out there. There might be someone that's really struggling with this right now. So it's not just survivors and the general population, it's our own community, because we're not sure how everyone's feeling right now and what they can and can't take. And do you know what I've noticed? Because everyone is so, like, I've been part of a DM group before I got chucked out because, I don't know, I don't know why, but I did. Someone just, oh no, I know what it was. It was, yeah, I won't even go into it because I don't want to start that up again. But anyway, I've been into MAP chat groups, DMs, so it's private. And oh my God, they are so sensitive and so considerate and respectful, and have boundaries and language rules, and honor each other and witness each other's, they don't want to trigger each other, and they don't want to trigger anyone else, and they don't want to offend anyone, and they don't want to assume anything, and it's so lovely. And I just think, oh, for fuck's sake, would you just show everyone else that? Would you just be like the people I know, instead of like being these arse hats that bring down entire movement? Laugh out loud. Depends which crew you're rolling with. I know, I must have got on with the wrong crowd. No, that's not fair, because the person who took offence to me has a very good CSA prevention website, and they're fantastic. They do a lot of great work. They can just occasionally be a bit full on and offensive with it, but like, can't we all, I suppose? But anyway, they took offence to me, and that started a whole big thing, which I don't want to restart, so I'll just nip that in the bud. But in general, I would like everyone to think, what are we doing as an individual to affect the whole? And when we know the whole has zero, they got nothing, they got no one, and the little handful they've got will run out of energy. And if we misuse them, especially, they'll just stop, because they'll think, well, what's the fucking point? And I suppose a lot of people carry on because they think, no, there is a point, because we want to be at the top of the slide, stopping victims. But really, if they're going by the statistics, they're doing the wrong bit of research, because what we really should be doing is creating an avenue for men to talk about their feelings. So these men who aren't even attracted to children, who sexually abuse them, go somewhere else with that conflict. I shouldn't be laughing, I don't know why I laugh. But they do, they take that conflict somewhere and go, God, I'm having these really intrusive thoughts. I think it's because I'm really stressed, and they unpack that stress or that conflict of self or that fear in a really safe space that says, oh, darling, it's probably this, or let me see whether it's that, or let's unpack it until it's safe. So it's great that with having research, I'm not saying stop the research, but also we need more research. And if we start being offensive, it's going to narrow down what they research, because all they're going to want to research is the eventuality of you abusing, the the projection, the transference of you're mine attracted, so you are a molester. It's just something. We just got to wait for it to happen, and that's what it will be narrowed down to. That's where all the research money will go to, because you're bad. And if we have our biggest spokespeople and our role models and our community people that people look up to, like, I don't want to use the term leader, but like, the bigger people that lots of people have interaction with, if they start pulling down because, oh, what's the point, because they're feeling in a slump, and they can't think less narrow-mindedly and more bigger picturedly, that involves all the children, all the teenagers, all the young adults, and all of them on their own. And we want to chuck fire at the people trying to help, and the people behind them that go and see, look at them, how they're treating the ones that are trying to help. What's the fucking point? They're just monsters. And that's what I don't want to happen, because I've evidenced something else. I believe something else. I feel preciously something else. But it's really hard to get a dousing of vinegar every day and a whole load of shit chucked at you when you're trying so hard for people that want to have a feeling. And really, it's just a really unnecessary public thing. And we went through this whole thing ages ago where we were doing these, I can't remember what we called, like manifestos, and this, what can we respect between the two camps, and what triggers you and what triggers you, and yeah, that is unfair. We won't start projecting paedophilia onto molestation. We will separate those words, and oh right, so hey baby, thank you, I've got a milkshake, yay. Okay, soon, yeah. I think I'm going to pack it up soon, because I really am feeling tired. Yeah. Okay, I love you. Chocolate milkshake. That's so good. That was my husband Simon featured. What was I saying? Oh, hey babe. Or take care of yourself. Yes, I really am being very boundaried with the self-care, and like, I want to hold my little precious energy for this community, but I also have to challenge things, and I want to elevate it, and I must challenge bad behaviour, and that's what we were talking about, this manifesto. And we really got quite far with it until a couple of men decided no, and it was like, oh, but all these people are really starting to believe in this, and it was just so, I cried over it because it was heartbreaking, and we were almost there. And then we continue with the the map thing, and now we're sort of like in an absolute slump with that, and it's going from bad to worse, really, because everyone's like being horrible with each other. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. sometimes I don't know what to do about it. But you didn't see the whole. Did you see? Was it you? Oh, you did. You saw the Project Snowball hanky. You know, who has a snowball hanky in the middle of Spain where they, all they do is have sun. It was there to tell me. So, but I'm trying to hold on to that little, that big amount of passion. And I really believe that we can do something, because I think there's a lot of commonalities between survivors and minor attracted. I think there is a lot, because we're both ostracized as a group. We're both a bit sticky and dirty. We're both, not at a dinner table conversation. We're all a bit, and also the secret internal conflict, that evil internal fear, it's very similar, as well as, the whole, actually I won't get into that, so I'll probably get into trouble. Zip my mouth, that's just, so I'm going I'm too tired to keep myself safe on that topic, so I'll keep that for another time. But yeah, God, thanks so much everyone for joining me tonight. This has been an absolute tonic. It's really touched my heart that people have turned up, and we've had some back and forth, and it's felt really good. And I'm so sorry that I've just got not enough energy to do the whole 2 hours. But I really want you to know, thank you. I really want you to know that I'm still working in the background. I'm going to push this article, and I'm going to start getting the professionals excited and invested in this topic, in this very precious topic that we all need to get our fingers out of our ears and our hands off our eyes and our feet out of our bums, and just start feet out of our bums. I don't know where that's came from, but we just need to stop getting stuck and start elevating this topic away from fear and into fact and into kindness and into innocence of what it is, because no one is an offender until they get to their lowest ebb and their most vulnerable self, and then they go over the edge. And that's not just that's cool. That's not just the people that aren't minor attracted. That's also minor attracted people. They have to go through a long coming to terms thing with stepping over that line. It's a really long process generally, unless it's a comorbid condition with psychopathy or sociopathy or narcissism, and there's a lot of entitlement, then that's a different condition entirely. But in an average person with a humanity and an empathy and a feeling scale and a wanting to be well-being, it takes a long time to step over that line. And for me, we've kind of failed every single person that could have been healed before they stepped over that line. They could have been made into well-being, where they live with this thing in care, because we've got a lot of old and retired maps that have never done a single thing, and they're out there campaigning for safety for teenagers and for elevation of the community and having their voice and living in exclusivity of minor attraction and in and absolute virgins, not just physically but online as well. And they're now sharing that it's not a death sentence or a ticking time bomb, that actually there is a pathway to well-being. And I just want that for everyone, because everyone deserves it. Like, when you get dealt that hand, Jesus Christ, you deserve some help. And not just because Jesus Christ, you deserve some help, but also if we're going to be narrow-minded enough to go, oh, we're not going to help them, then we're like feeding the self-fulfilling prophecy, which it really isn't, because it's not a ticking time bomb. But anyone that we push into a corner, heap on hatred, and then a number of things happen in their life that are big experiential and traumatic events that wear down a person's humanness and gets them into their amygdala and their animal state. And depending what way their amygdala events, they're going to have acting out and behaving in unusual ways, and that will include acting out with children. So we want some care for that. and I'm really glad you guys are here, and thank you so much for your support. It's meant everything tonight. I feel so lucky to have you guys turn, and thank you. So I'm going to now, if you don't mind, go and have cuddles with my gorgeous husband and drink my lovely milkshake, and probably have an early night because I've been falling asleep on the couch at 8:30 every night. But hopefully soon I'm going to get this dealt with, and maybe they'll take my womb out, or it'll be something easily fixed. Get your damn sleep, love. I will. Thank you so much, everyone, and so much love, and thank you for coming. And I'll see you next month. But in the meantime, stay in touch and let me know how you're doing and what topics you want, and whether you've got any content you'd like unpacking, or whether you'd like to send me your story of self so I can anonymize it and feature it with some kind of therapized and psychological insight into it. So just let me know. I'm here for you, and this is the environment that we're trying to make. So input is really vital. This is your thing, and I can only make it what it needs to be if I get like input on what it needs to be. So great. All right, then I'll see you next month, which it's going to be, and I'll check it now so I make sure I do the right date. The third Wednesday of the month in June will be 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that's July. June 1, 2, 3. Wednesday, the 19th of June, just after my 42nd birthday. So maybe we'll have cake. Right. Lots of love. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you all again soon. And stay in contact in the meantime. Bye bye. Oh, fucking dickhead! I'm trying to I'm trying to stop it on the bloody screen. End stream. Right, bye. Oh.